Featherboards, going to show you how I use them on a little bit of production run to cut some 1/4" dados and a whole bunch of pieces. Yeah, there's other ways to do it, but we're going to show you how I set it up and how to use these featherboards coming up. I'm Roger and welcome to the shop. Something I need to do today is cut a whole bunch of these. I need to make quite a few of them for a project I'm working on. And to do that, 1/4" dado, I already have my pieces ripped to width and cut to length. So I need to cut this dado in all these pieces. I've got a few of them laying here on the table. I could just run them through the table saw here using this with the offset on it, and it would take them right through just fine. But since I have a lot of them to do, I'm going to show you how I set up my featherboards for a production run. I've got two different types here. These here are made by Craig. There's other companies that make them. This one here is made by Miles Craft. This is the one I use in the miter slot. And I'll show you how I set these up. I have a auxiliary fence on my Vega saw fence here. And I have a channel cut into it with some T-slot. And I'll set up two of these on my auxiliary fence, and the purpose of these is to hold the workpiece down. I have my one here that's already got a cut in it, so it'll be good for doing the setup. So what you want with your featherboards is you don't want to push down on them real hard and put a whole lot of pressure there. You just want them to hold the piece down in place. These also will prevent kickback to a degree. This one here is used to hold the piece against the fence. Now you don't want it out here, you want it on the infeed side and close to where the cut's going to start. Here again, you want just enough pressure on there to hold the piece in. You don't want it to be real tight. I've got a little auxiliary stick here to push my last piece out. Well, something you'll notice is that the piece can go this way, but it is very difficult to move it back. You can actually shove against it back, but it's difficult. Now I'll show you how this works in production. So I've got a whole bunch of these pieces to run right here, and actually there's even more than this, but just to give you an idea here. This last piece here was my, actually my pattern. So there I have it. A whole bunch of these made just that quick. Next up here, I have another little project I need to do with the router table, and I'll show you how I use the feather boards on that, along with my other auxiliary fence I have for the saw fence here, and how you can do a production run using that on the router table. I've got a whole bunch of roundovers to do on a bunch of long strips, so I'll show you how I do that. This here will be an example on how I set up my feather boards to use with the router table, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, you've probably seen this router lift is built into my custom table saw enclosure I built here a few years ago. This is a Vega fence. It's been retrofitted on the, I should say it's been fitted to fit this older, much older Craftsman table saw that's been extensively modified. As you can see, I have an auxiliary fence on this side as well with a T-track in it. To go into that T-track, I built this router fence here with the dust collection port. And on the back of this, you see right here are T-nuts, and they slide into this track. And I just center that over my bit. Of course, this is a good catch-all for all kinds of things you want to store. And tighten up my wing nuts here, or my knobs. The next thing I want to do is raise my bit up and get my depth set. This is a roundover bit in here. Then for alignment here on the bearing, I use a straight edge, and I set the fence so that, oh boy, that's pretty good right there, so that the bearing just barely rolls as I slide this along, and I can lock my fence down. Yep. Before I set my feather boards, I'm going to make a little test cut. Okay, that's just the way I want it. So now I can get my feather board set up and my dust collection set up. Here again, sliding these through, so the direction of travel is this way. So you want the direction of travel to follow on the feather board as well. And there is a T-track built into the router fence here. This one will be for the one on the outfeed side. And to set that up, I just got a piece of 3/4 inch stock. Even marked setup block on it. How handy is that? There again, we want just enough pressure to hold it down, but we don't want to be forcing it and have a whole lot of downward pressure there. Do the same thing with the other side. Once again, the infeed with the tails facing travels that way. Now for the width, that is not the same as that. I'll have to take a piece of what I'm going to be cutting here. I have a miter, 3/4 inch miter slot routed into the table here. And this is just barely going to make it. What you want to do is have that set so that it will keep that pushed up against the fence and not try to wander out. that's what we have. Now I need the dust collection set up here. I also have dust collection built into the table, which I can route a hose out from underneath and plug on here, but this is handier and quicker, and I don't have to mess with the blast gates. Okay, this can also be used for ripping. I need to rip this down and make some strips that I'll be running through the router table later. And I've got these set up so that, once again, there's just enough pressure to hold the board down, but not so much that it actually drags. This also does help prevent kickback. So we'll give this a little run here. I'll give it a demonstration. So there's 3 examples on how to use feather boards and how to set them up for different applications, whether it be cutting dados or grooves or rabbets or ripping or along a router fence. Yeah, granted, not everybody's got a setup like this, and this is highly custom, and I did modify that Vega fence to be able to accommodate all these things, but it makes things a lot easier. And when you're doing a big production run, I've got a lot more of these to do yet. And if you're wondering what they're actually for shelf edges. The shelf edging, it's a custom thing for some pantry shelves. And yeah, you saw the knots and stuff, but I'll be cutting around those. I selected these boards to allow for enough clear area for the project I'm doing without having to buy select wood. Because right now wood's mighty expensive with this COVID thing going on, and fires and hurricanes and all that. But anyway, I digress. If you got something out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. It helps the channel. Of course, we're always looking for subscribers. The next to that subscribe button's a little bell. If you click that bell, you'll be notified when I post another video. Otherwise, I'm Roger in the shop. See you on the next one.